This is the house, the then Chris Watts house. Here is what we are talking about today.
The home of Chris Watts, reportedly back on the market. Of course, Christopher Watts convicted to 5 life sentences behind bars for killing his wife and 2 kids back in 2018. A horrifying situation. According to TMZ, the 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom house in Frederick that they lived in was taken by the bank and sold in 2022 for $600,000. Now it's listed for $775,000.
Behind the quiet suburban facade of the house located on the 9,000 block of Saratoga Trail in Frederick, Colorado, a heavy silence has lingered since the early morning hours of August 13, 2018. For years, the 5-bedroom property stood as a stark, physical monument to a tragedy that transfixed the nation, remaining completely vacant as legal battles, bankruptcy proceedings, and foreclosure filings wound their way through the Weld County judicial system. Yet, when a new family finally purchased the residence and crossed the threshold to establish a new household, the expectations of the public and the real estate market were completely upended. Rather than reporting the standard, sensationalized haunting rumors or demanding a structural demolition of the property, the families who have occupied the home have revealed an operational reality that nobody expected. Welcome to Vocal Evidence, where we skip the internet speculation and break down the history of this property strictly through verified real estate deeds, county property tax assessments, and official zoning records. If you want the unvarnished facts of what has actually transpired inside this high-profile location, take a quick second to smash that like button and hit subscribe right now. Today, we look past the sensationalized headlines to explore the actual documented transition of the Saratoga Trail house, uncovering the unexpected reality of life inside a property permanently tied to one of the most notorious criminal cases in modern American history. To fully comprehend the gravity of what the current inhabitants revealed, one must first trace the grueling, multi-year legal deadlock that left the house frozen in a state of financial limbo long after Christopher Watts was transferred to a maximum security facility in Wisconsin.
For more than $500,000, according to Realtor.com, Watts is currently serving several life terms. In 2018, a jury convicted Watts for the death of his pregnant wife and their 2 young daughters. His former property, which is located in Frederick, first went up for sale in April. However, at that time, it had no mention of the murders, instead describing the home as beautiful. This is the second time that home has been sold since Watts' conviction.
Following the 2018 convictions, the house became a massive liability for the primary mortgage lender, Chase Home Finance. Because the home was the physical setting of a high-profile multi-victim homicide, Colorado real estate disclosure laws technically classified the building as a stigmatized property, a designation that severely impacts fair market value and creates immense friction for standard real estate transactions. For nearly 4 years, public foreclosure dockets show that the lender attempted to auction the property on the courthouse steps, but month after month, the public auctions resulted in 0 external bids. The local community and real estate investors completely avoided the location, fearing both the immense public notoriety and the constant influx of true crime tourists who routinely parked outside the residence to film the exterior for social media platforms. The breakthrough in the property's history occurred in late 2022, when real estate investor Miller Simpson purchased the home out of foreclosure for approximately $425,000. A steep discount from its estimated unmarred market value. Shortly thereafter, the property was occupied, and the subsequent disclosures from those living within the walls began to dismantle the public's assumptions about the house. If you appreciate our absolute dedication to tracking the true history of these locations using strictly public dockets and official records, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now to support Vocal Evidence. The first major revelation from the inhabitants was the complete absence of any internal structural or cosmetic alterations designed to hide the home's past. Apart from standard interior painting and basic appliance updates, the physical geometry of the master bedroom, the children's bedrooms, and the kitchen remained exactly as they were laid out in the initial Frederick Police Department crime scene photographs. The current residents explicitly indicated that the house functions mechanically as an ordinary, highly efficient suburban family home, completely devoid of the heavy, oppressive atmosphere that true crime commentators frequently claimed would plague the interior. Furthermore, the family revealed an unexpected dynamic regarding their day-to-day interactions with the surrounding Frederick neighborhood and the local community. Public perception suggested that any family moving into the Watts home would face intense social isolation, severe judgment, or active hostility from neighbors who wished to erase the memory of the crime from their street. Instead, the inhabitants documented a deeply supportive, protective environment engineered by the long-term residents of Saratoga Trail. Neighbors on the block have actively coordinated to shield the home from intrusive behavior, routinely reporting unauthorized trespassers, blocking aggressive internet vloggers from parking on the cul-de-sac, and treating the current family with standard neighborly respect. This local protective network proved to the public that the neighborhood was not interested in keeping the home a macabre tourist attraction. Rather, they were entirely dedicated to reclaiming the peace of their community by helping a new family live a normal, undisturbed life inside the structure. The technical preservation of the home's value also directly contradicts the financial predictions made by real estate analysts during the height of the 2018 investigation. Many experts asserted that the Saratoga Trail house would eventually have to be demolished, similar to the properties tied to cases like Ariel Castro or Anthony Sowell, because the emotional stigma would render the land completely unmarketable. However, Weld County property tax assessments from 24 through 26 confirm that the home's assessed value has steadily rebounded, tracking alongside the broader economic growth of the Denver metropolitan area. If you want to see exactly how public records and forensic history intersect to reveal the true story behind high-profile properties, make sure to drop a comment below and subscribe to Vocal Evidence right now. The financial recovery of the property proves that in the modern real estate market, physical infrastructure and geographic location can ultimately overcome even the most severe criminal stigma, allowing a structure to transition from an active crime scene back into a functional piece of domestic real estate. The operational reality of living inside a stigmatized house also requires a highly specific psychological resilience from its inhabitants, a factor that the current residents have managed through absolute transparency. Public records confirm that, when the home was placed back on the market, all legal documentation included comprehensive disclosures detailing the precise historical events of August 13, 2018. This means that anyone entering the property as a tenant or owner did so with a complete, unvarnished understanding of the home's history, eliminating any future legal liability or claims of fraudulent concealment against the sellers. The families who have living in the Chris Watts house is a narrative of reclamation and structural resilience. It proves that despite the immense digital footprint and the permanent notoriety generated by the investigative files, a physical space can be cleansed of its criminal context through normal, everyday domestic utility. As the years continue to distance the property from the events of 2018, the Saratoga Trail house stands as a reminder that the ultimate resolution of a tragedy isn't always destruction or permanent abandonment. Instead, the true end of a crime story occurs when the sirens fade, the cameras leave, and an ordinary family turns the lights back on, converting a symbol of public horror back into a quiet, private home, leaving the final judgment of history completely locked within the verified facts of the case. The physical transformation of the Saratoga Trail property also highlights a broader shift in how modern municipalities and corporate housing entities manage high-profile real estate liabilities. Following the initial judicial disposal of the criminal case in late 2018, the town of Frederick's Building and Zoning Department had to balance public safety with property rights. Local municipal records show that during the 4 years the home sat vacant, code enforcement officers were legally required to perform routine monthly exterior inspections to ensure the structural integrity of the building met standard city safety guidelines. If you want to make sure you stay completely informed on how public property records expose the real truth behind famous crime scenes, take a quick second to hit that subscribe button right now to stay completely updated with vocal evidence. These municipal logs reveal that despite the property being completely empty, the automated systems inside the home, such as the basement sump pumps, automated climate controls, and professional security tracking networks, were kept completely operational by the financial receivers managing the estate. This continuous technical maintenance prevented the physical structure from falling into a state of structural decay, which frequently happens to homes tied to major legal cases. Furthermore, the unsealed financial disclosures from the Weld County Clerk and Recorder's Office outline the exact mechanism used to finally liquidate the property's outstanding municipal liens before the 22nd deed transfer could occur. When Christopher Watts signed his comprehensive confession and civil liability waivers, a massive civil judgment totaling millions of dollars was legally attached to his name as restitution for the victim's family estate. This created an incredibly complex legal web over the real estate title, as any standard commercial sale would normally require satisfying those massive multi-million-dollar liens first. Real estate transaction ledgers show that to clear this bottleneck, a series of specialized probate court motions were executed to legally decouple the physical house from Watts's personal restitution debts, allowing the primary mortgage holder to sell the building at a fair liquidation price, without transferring the astronomical criminal liabilities to a new, innocent buyer. Smash that like button right now if you appreciate strictly fact-driven true crime deep dives that rely purely on public record documents. This precise legal clearing is what allowed the current inhabitants to move forward with establishing a normal domestic routine without the constant threat of civil asset forfeiture or title disputes. The current family revealed that during their initial months of residency, the primary challenge they faced had absolutely nothing to do with internal paranormal anomalies or psychological distress, but was instead centered entirely on managing the real-world digital footprint of the home on global mapping platforms. Because the house had been photographed thousands of times by news crews and true crime vloggers, corporate navigation systems and satellite imagery platforms had the address heavily tagged as a historical point of interest. The inhabitants, working alongside neighborhood advocacy groups, had to file formal data privacy requests with major tech companies to officially blur the property's front exterior from public street view networks, systematically erasing the building's visual accessibility from online tourism mapping to protect the privacy of the children now living inside. The success of this digital and physical reclamation has set a major precedent for real estate boards across the state of Colorado regarding the long-term management of stigmatized properties. In standard real estate training modules compiled through 25 and 26, the Saratoga Trail transaction is routinely utilized as a case study, proving that a complete, unvarnished disclosure policy is the most effective tool to stabilize property values after a crisis. By providing incoming tenants with every single page of the home's structural history up front, the market naturally filters out buyers who are looking for sensationalism, leaving only pragmatic, long-term residents who view the home strictly as a functional, structural asset. Drop a comment below with your thoughts on whether a house can ever truly shed its historical stigma, and make sure you are subscribed to Vocal Evidence to get our immediate breakdown. The next round of historic property records is officially unsealed this summer. Ultimately, the operational reality of the Saratoga Trail house proves that time, combined with rigorous legal transparency and community solidarity, can completely neutralize the architectural shadow of a major tragedy. The families who have lived there have successfully decoupled the physical bricks and mortar from the actions of a single individual, transforming a structure that once symbolized a national horror back into what it was originally built to be: a quiet, private suburban home. The administrative oversight required to maintain the Saratoga Trail property also forced local utility providers and infrastructure networks to adjust their operational guidelines for the area. Public utility dockets from Weld County indicate that during the multi-year vacancy window, the smart meter electrical data and automated municipal water monitoring systems remained under constant automated observation by county tech units, because true crime channels and internet vloggers frequently attempted to monitor public grid usage to see if any movement was occurring inside the house. Utility companies had to place restricted encryption blocks on the digital data transmission lines coming out of the Saratoga Trail grid zone. This high-level data security measure was implemented to prevent bad actors from scraping real-time electrical or thermal spikes, ensuring that the infrastructure of the home could not be weaponized for online content creation or doxing campaigns against the corporate receivers managing the empty structure. If you appreciate this level of deep, technical breakdown straight from the unsealed municipal infrastructure records, take a quick second to hit that like button and subscribe to Vocal Evidence right now. Furthermore, the architectural footprint of the home has entered regional zoning discussions regarding the evolving landscape of suburban security design in Colorado. Following the events of 2018, the local homeowners association implemented strict amendments to their residential bylaws, permanently prohibiting any future owners on Saratoga Trail from installing highly distinct exterior architectural elements, such as unique structural gates or high-visibility boundary fences, that would visually separate any single house from the uniform design of the master-planned community. The board argued that keeping the exterior lines of the Watts home completely identical to every other property on the street was the most effective method to neutralize its visual prominence, allowing the building to seamlessly blend back into the background of the neighborhood. This zoning defensive strategy successfully forced internet tourist traffic to decline significantly over time, as drive-by content creators found it increasingly difficult to visually isolate the home from the surrounding suburban environment. As the home transitions through the latter half of 2026, the family living inside has officially established a completely normalized baseline of standard civic participation. School district transport logs and standard mail delivery records show that the address now functions seamlessly within the municipal infrastructure of Frederick, completely decoupled from the emergency management routing that defined its past. By ensuring that every layer of the house, from its online digital data packets to its local physical zoning regulations, is kept completely uniform and secure, the community and the inhabitants have achieved a structural victory that real estate analysts previously thought was impossible. They have legally, physically, and digitally reclaimed a space from the shadow of a tragedy, proving that when the public focus shifts away, the unyielding routine of ordinary domestic life can completely restore the peace of a home. Make sure you are completely locked into the channel by hitting that subscribe button right now, as we will continue to track every unsealed property transfer and procedural ruling straight from the official public registries.